this next signing is the most important. I don't think people understand how good Jordan Reed is going to be in this system, right? I really don't think people understand. If you have a 2 tight end set with George Kittle and Jordan Reed, it's going to be hard to guard. What do you say, Grant? Like, how do you feel about this signing? And do you think this is probably the best tight end tandem in the NFL right now?
It could be. I mean, Jordan Reed has a lot to prove. I love Jordan Reed. I mean, 2013, 14, 15, I thought he was one of the best receiving tight ends in the league. But I think of him sort of in terms of like a boxer who used to be great, but has gotten knocked out 5, 6 times, 7 times to be exact. Right. And when a boxer's gotten knocked out 10 count on the canvas 7 times, it's time to stop fighting. You know, you used to be great. You still probably can throw your punches, but you can't take those shots anymore. So if he makes it through training camp and plays a full 16-game season, the Niners offense is going to be better than it was last year because his route running is better than Kittle's. His hands are better than Kittle's. His blocking isn't as good and his yards after the – but he really would be the Niners' number 2 target. It would be Kittle 1, Jordan Reed 2, and then Deebo Samuel 3. So if he can stay healthy, he just makes this offense way better. But it's like saying if Manny Pacquiao can shake off the cobwebs after getting knocked – you know, it's like – you know, can you really turn back the clock after taking that type of head trauma? I hope he can. Yeah.
And I just feel like, man, he's going to make this offense that much better, bro. You're not going to be able to sit back in your zones. You're going to have to come up and play some man. I mean, you can sit back in your zones if you want to because Jordan Reed is really good at finding space in zones and catching the ball and getting some yards.
Especially in Kyle's offense.
Hey, he'll just get 10 yards every time. 10 yards.
Oh, my God. And this is the thing. Kyle Shanahan said, okay, Cardinals, y'all got Isaiah Simmons. Y'all got that. Okay, Seattle. Y'all went ahead. Adams. Okay, checkmate. We got Jordan. What y'all going to do now?
Let's go through their 22 personnel because I think this is the best personnel group they can put on the field, kind of like what Harbaugh did back in the day when they went to the Super Bowl. 2 backs, Juszczyk and Mostert. Now 2 tight ends, Kittle and Reed. And a wide receiver. It could be
Jalen Hurd. You could do all big bodies. You could do a little bit of everything. You could do IU. You could have KB. Hey, it's astronomical the amount of things that Kyle Shanahan can do out of the 22 personnel. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And with him added with Trent Williams, it's just going to make the package even better.
And the reason I like it so much is because it's not a slow grouping. Kittle's a downfield threat. Ayuk's a downfield threat. Juszczyk can get down the field. Mostert runs a 4-3. It's actually a fast, heavy personnel grouping, and you don't have to be in tight under center formations. You can always see what the defense does, and if they load up with like 4 linebackers and 4 defensive linemen, you can go empty. You can put Mostert at wide receiver, Juszczyk at wide receiver, Kittle in the slot. So many things you can do out of it. You can do multiple.
And there's one more guy that you could empty out with that could play a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
His name is McKinnon. Right. His name is Jeff McKinnon. You can empty out and put him out there, play him in the slot or play him out wide, and he's going to run routes just as good as any wide receiver out there. Right.
That's right.
So that's a great thing, man. I was happy to see that. I feel
real quick, Grant. So how do you feel about what we talked about last week? How you said you feel like Ross Dwelly was better out of.
Well, look, I'm not surprised that Kyle Shanahan is giving Jordan Reed a shot. He drafted Jordan Reed. He loves Jordan Reed. Right. And I hope Jordan Reed stays healthy because if he does, then he's a better player than Ross Dwelly. But the way that I see this is if the Niners truly want to go to 22 personnel, then they're probably going to stick with 4 tight ends, not 3. Because if your base offense is 2 tight ends, then you're just a couple injuries away from not being able to use that formation, that personnel grouping at all. Right. So I think you could say that it's bad news for Dwelly, but I think it also it's probably worse news for one of those wide receivers on the bubble, like Richie James or Dante Pettis. Because I don't know that they're going to be able to keep 7 wide receivers if they're only going to be playing 1 at a time for large stretches.
Yeah. And, people forget this. We had four tight ends last year. We had Kittle, we had Toilolo, we had Dwelly, and we had Daniel Helm. No,
King Smith made the initial 53, and then they cut him, and then Daniel Helm was on 2. So yes, they've done that.
So we had 4. We had 5. We just had 1 that was on the practice squad, right? So I mean, we still had 4 tight ends, and everybody was like, "Well, we're only going to carry 3." No, we can carry 4 because that's what we carry. So yeah, man, I was happy to see that.
What about Charlie Warner? Are we going to keep him then? I mean, I guess.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, last year,
He's not going nowhere.
this guy's gonna make it. He's a better blocker, a better player.
Yeah, he's not going nowhere.
Let's go.
And you know, I feel like what we are doing is I hate to say it, I hate this franchise, but we're doing the same thing that the Patriots do.
Yep.
They go out and get guys that fit what they're doing, and they pay minimal for them, and they get the most out of those guys. That's
Well, remember,
what do.
Garoppolo's a Patriots guy, and what
Right.
the Niners have now is a full season of data on him.
Right.
And what the advanced stats show is that he's so way better at throwing the ball over the middle to slot receivers, tight ends, and running backs than he is throwing out wide.
Right.
So if you're committed to Jimmy, because he does a lot of good things, then you need as many good tight ends, running backs, and slot receivers as possible. And that's what the Niners loaded up on this year. That's what they did.